of Le Mans is considered to be one of the most prestigious races that has ever existed in the world. It is truly the ultimate test of endurance car racing, and there are so many great qualities which bring so much attention to this event every single year. And in this video, I'll talk all about it. This is a full in-depth breakdown explaining all the details that you need to know when it comes to the legendary 24 Hours of Le Mans. It's important to know that Le Mans is the oldest endurance racing venue that still exists today, as it dates back all the way to 1923, which also makes this race more than 100 years old. As of recording this, there have been 91 editions of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, with the 92nd taking place in 2024. Through the years, a numerous amount of manufacturers, teams, and drivers have attended, and some have even fulfilled the dream of winning. And if you're wondering why it's so important to win this event, well, it's Le Mans. If you win here, you're automatically in the club of being a legend of motorsport, considering the track, event duration, intensity, competition, and overall prestige that comes with winning Le Mans. Le Mans is a test of durability, and there's racing action non-stop, through the day and the night. You could be racing at 2 a.m. in the morning and still have a wheel-to-wheel battle with another competitor. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is also special because just making it to the flag is an accomplishment in itself, because it means that you have endured through all the excitement, the intensity, and the heartbreak that comes with. Even if you don't win or don't finish in the top 10, for example, just finishing the event is such a relief, and that's one of the reasons why the 24 Hours of Le Mans is so unique. Later on in the video, I'll talk more on the history of this event and the qualities that Le Mans brings. But it's imperative to remember the fact that Le Mans is a sports car endurance race that features multi-class racing for 24 hours straight, meaning no breaks and certainly no point where there isn't racing action happening out on track. To be clear, this is not an event for single-seater racing cars, such as the ones we're used to seeing in the IndyCar series or in Formula 1. But speaking of those series, there is actually something that Le Mans has in common with both, and that is the fact that the 24 Hours of Le Mans is a part of the Triple Crown of Motorsport, which also includes the Monaco Grand Prix, which is in Formula 1, and the Indianapolis 500, which is in the NTT IndyCar series. Speaking of the Triple Crown, there have been many drivers in the past that have tried to complete it, but there's been only one driver in the history of motorsport that has been successful in doing so, and that was British racing driver Graham Hill, who won the Indianapolis 500, F1 Monaco Grand Prix, and the 24 Hours of Le Mans, as he did so in 1972 for the Mattress Simca team. Moving on to the cars that are actually competing during the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Over the years, the vast majority of the grid has been taken up by prototypes and GT race cars. However, in the past, there has been other kinds of cars that have raced in this event. Most recently, this happened in 2023, when the NASCAR race car entry raced for the full 24-hour distance. As of 2024, the 24 Hours of Le Mans features 4 different regulations of cars out on the grid, and they are all separated into 3 different categories. In Le Mans' flagship category, there are 2 kinds of cars battling for overall victory. There are cars using the regulation of Le Mans Hypercar, also referred to as LMH. These are cars such as the Ferrari 499P and Toyota GR010, for example. Then there are cars also using the regulation of Le Mans Daytona H, also referred to as LMDH. These are cars such as the Porsche 963 and Cadillac V-Series R, for example. These prototypes are classified as hypercars and are running in the hypercar category. If you need more information on the LMH and LMDH prototypes, I highly recommend checking out this video, which I'll link in the top right corner. The secondary category features cars using the Le Mans Prototype 2 regulations, more commonly referred to as LMP2. The cars are definitely slower than the hypercars by roughly around 10 seconds, but they always provide competitive racing. Only one type of LMP2 car chassis is featured at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This chassis is the Oreca 07. And then finally, there's a GT regulation. In the more recent years of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, this regulation has been GTE, but from 2024 onward, Le Mans will be featuring the GT3 based cars at this event, meaning that the class will be the LMGT3 category. Each class will feature its own individual winner, but the biggest achievement is winning this race overall. That is determined by the car that covers the most distance. And considering that the hypercars are the fastest and most competitive race cars out on track, the overall win will likely go to one of those prototypes. Now when it comes to Le Mans, as well as the full WEC, a good way to spot the differences between all these cars is through the number panels. The hypercars are featuring the red number panels, where the LMP2 cars have the blue number panels, and the GT3 cars have the orange number panels. Now when it comes to the event, not only are the cars special, but so are the manufacturers. Over the years, ever since that inaugural event in 1923, a huge variety of car manufacturers from across the world have come to contest for the win of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. For the 2024 race, Le Mans will feature 14 car manufacturers, including brands such as Toyota, Ferrari, Porsche, Cadillac, Lamborghini, and so on. Through its existence, the French event has always attracted a huge variety of prestigious car manufacturers, whether that be through the prototype ranks, the GT ranks, or both. Competing, therefore surviving at Le Mans, let alone winning the event, is absolutely essential to all the manufacturers that participate, considering that it not just boosts their reputation on the motorsport side, but it can sometimes do that on the road car side. When we look through the history of manufacturers winning this event overall, it's definitely a huge honor to take the victory. But another interesting fact is that some of these brands have actually won consecutively, therefore dominating the endurance race at times. A few brands in the past have been lucky enough to dominate Le Mans, but one of these brands stands out above the rest, and that is the German car manufacturer Porsche. The brand has an outstanding achievement of 19 overall victories obtained at Le Mans ever since their first in 1970 with the Porsche 917K, and so far no one has been able to topple that result. When it comes to the record of victories achieved by drivers, Danish racer Tom Kristensen currently holds the record of 9 overall victories at this event, which also earned him the title of Mr. Le Mans. Now, while the multi-class racing element, the cars, the prestige that this event brings, and so on make the 24 Hours of Le Mans so special, another factor which makes this event so unique is the track itself. The event takes place at the Circuit de la Sarthe, and the correct pronunciation for this track is Circuit de la Sarthe. The track is situated in the country of France, near the city of Le Mans, which is about 115 miles away from Paris. Ever since the opening of the track over a century ago in 1923, the circuit has gone through many changes, but the current track is comprised of 38 corners, which makes up the 13.6 kilometer circuit. That's 8.4 miles for those using that system. One of the interesting facts which makes the circuit so special is that the layout is a combination of both public roads and permanent built road course, which are assembled every year for the cars to compete on. The circuit also features many iconic sections, including the Mulsanne Straight, which is considered to be one of the longest straights in motor racing history. In the year 1990 though, alterations were made to the straight with the installation of 2 chicanes, which would limit the achievable speed on the Mulsanne. After the installation of the chicanes, the highest speed ever recorded since then was when Mark Blundell took his Nissan R90 CK to pole position during the 1990 event, setting a top speed of 238 miles per hour. Now during the race at the track, a factor to keep in mind is that we could see changeable weather, which could affect the outcome of this event. Considering this is a multi-class 24-hour endurance race, and it's challenging in itself, throw in the factor of rain, and that could completely mix around the leaderboard. In the past at Le Mans, we've seen changeable conditions decide the overall winner. Think back to the 2008 race, when Audi, and specifically Howden Haynes, pulled off an incredible strategy to pit the number 2 Audi and send Tom Kristensen back out on wet tires, where the number 7 Peugeot decided to stay on dry tires, ultimately winning the number 2 Audi the overall victory. Now that coincides perfectly with my next subject, because it's not just about the driver at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, but it's also about the whole team. As I mentioned before, strategy could decide the overall winner, like in the 2008 race I just mentioned. Teamwork is absolutely essential for the success of each entry during this historic event. During the event, every car will be completing around 30 pit stops, depending on strategy, and every second counts. Sometimes there's even situations where there's mechanical issues or damage on the car, where the team will need to work quickly to get the entry back out on track. Another interesting fact is that each car competing in this event will feature a driver lineup of 3 racers. The way this works is that a driver jumps into the car and drives during their stint, which can take up to a couple of hours depending on strategy. Once the stint is complete, the driver comes into the pit lane and climbs out of the car, with another driver taking over and continuing on with the race. This cycle continuously happens until the end of the event. Now, it's very important to know that the 24 Hours of Le Mans takes place in the month of June, and it usually falls in the middle of the season for the WEC. Now, for those that are unaware about this fact, the 24 Hours of Le Mans is a part of a bigger series known as the World Endurance Championship, which runs pretty much the same exact cars that are competing at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The WEC, which has been permitted by the FIA and organized by the ACO, has been running the 24 Hours of Le Mans within the series since 2012 when the championship was reorganized. Of course, the 24 Hours of Le Mans has predated this modern World Endurance Championship, but the alliance doesn't look to be stopping anytime soon, and both parties have found it extremely successful. So that completes my beginner's guide explaining the major details when it comes to the 24 Hours